So joining us tonight is Kirk St. John's. He is the founder of Solum Global, which is a platform that helps people take their crypto and exchange it for gold. So he understands both worlds of crypto and gold, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Because again, people are very worried about what in the world is going to happen when it comes to the dollar. So let's move on with the show. Here we go. Let's get Kirk on. Kirk St. John's, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kim.
Okay, so tell us, you've been in the crypto space for about 10 years. That's quite a long time. Tell us, how did you get into it and where are you at with it right now so that we could kind of get a picture of who you are as we talk about crypto and gold and other things tonight.
Sure. So I lived out in the Seattle area, the late 90s and the first, decade and a half of the 20s. And, people started to say, hey, have you heard of Bitcoin? And, the second or third person that said it to me is my partner in Solum Global. And I was like, you're like the third person that said that. Yeah, I've heard of it. I'm not sure what it is. Right. And like everybody else, I just started digging and looking and thinking about it. And just from the beginning, I thought, what a remarkable idea. The next, iteration of technology, the way money and currency and storage of value, all those things in my head just started to swim with all the potential, use cases for not only a cryptocurrency, but the blockchain, smart contracts, the whole thing. And so we decided to get involved with it early on. Bitcoin was, still below $500. Ethereum, hadn't even come out yet. We knew the guys, Joe Lubin, Vitalik, those guys. Ripple was still in the little office across the street from the stadium down in California. So it was early. We were early on. And I watched it grow. I've seen a lot of different things like everybody else happen, some good, some bad. But in 2016, I retired from Seattle and moved back to South Florida. And it was about a year or so ago, maybe a year and a half now, that I saw some news that made me uncomfortable with the industry as a whole. Most people remember the Terra Luna story, the FTX story. And, for people that have been around for a while, there was Mount Vox back in the day that fell apart. I mean, there's, it just feels like every time you turn around, the industry's getting a black eye. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's right. I really don't. I think it's one of the most remarkable, innovative industries. The people in it are unbelievable. The products and services, it's changing, will change, and has changed the world. So I saw some of that stuff, and I recognized that in my opinion, if you brought some more mature management methodologies to the space, then you could build more substantial products and, of course, companies around those. And that's where the idea for Solum Global came from.
Okay, so then what is Solum Global?
So Solum Global is a company that, the name Solum, it's a Latin word. It means foundation. So, you might call it a global foundation for all things crypto and blockchain. So we decided to start off with what we call the Solum Solution. And that is it's in essence a wallet. It's a platform that allows people to get into crypto, move crypto, store crypto. And then we've added the element of gold to the mix so that the people that are dealing with our product and solution have a digital currency that's redeemable, technically probably would be the word, but people call it backed by gold. And so we're doing that because we see a time in history, particularly with the movement of money, right? So, if you think about the current situation, we're in New York. We went out to dinner the other night with a large party, and the check was like $2,900. And so when the host ran the credit card, I asked the manager at the restaurant, I said, what did you pay for that? And he said 2.5%. Right? So the current situation is you're using your little swipe card. It's going out over the internet. It's hitting your bank. It's going to their bank, and it all gets settled in the background and all that stuff. But with the Solum solution and really any wallet, crypto blockchain solution, but ours is, of course, Solum Global, that same bill could have been paid from my wallet to the restaurant's wallet for 0.1%. And it's cheaper, it's faster, and it's safer. So
Okay.
Solum has come out with what we think is a platform that allows people to use crypto now versus just investing in it or trying to understand it.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning for dummies,
Okay.
if you don't mind,
Okay. Yeah. No. Ready.
because
Yep.
the thing about the crypto world is that it's difficult for a lot of us to understand. It's difficult for us to
Sure.
understand just really anything and everything about it. And I think because of that, a lot of people stay away from it. A lot of people don't want to get
Right.
involved because they just don't quite understand it.
Right.
I understand I understand fiat money. I somewhat understand banking, at least I thought I did, but then I think when you really start talking to experts about banking, suddenly you
Right.
realize you don't
Right.
know anything about banking, right? When you get
Sure.
into the nitty-gritty. But let's get into crypto. So can you
Yes.
explain crypto for dummies? Like what is it
Oh,
exactly that
yeah.
how do you mine it? What is it exactly? There's so many
Right.
different currencies. Like just kind of give us a for dummies if you wouldn't
Okay.
mind.
Well, let's start with a couple of like simple categorical things within crypto, right? So crypto has really two categories. One has more coins in it than the other, but you either are going to have a stable coin on one side, or you're going to have the other type of coin on the other side, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, that people expect really for it to go up in value. So probably 70%, maybe as high as 90% of the people that are involved with crypto are involved with it because they think they can buy a cryptocurrency for a couple pennies, and one day it's going to be worth $100, right?
Okay.
So it's really a speculative investment in the mind of most people.
But why?
Whereas this,
Why did it begin, and why not just fiat money? Why go into crypto? Like, Why would anybody want to create this?
well, okay, so that's a very interesting question, and it takes you back to Satoshi, right? So, back in the first decade of this century, Satoshi Nakamoto, God, I can never say his last name. We'll just call him Satoshi. Came down from the mountain and laid the idea of the Bitcoin white paper out on the world, right? And this is the document that kind of led people to understand the blockchain and how that type of thing can work, the smart contracts, which are the, kind of the rules that govern it, and the issuance of a cryptocurrency, right? So this came out and people started to see it, and that's how it started to catch on. And that first currency was Bitcoin. But in my opinion now I'm going to say Kirk St. John's personal opinion, and I used to do this back in the day when we were doing the early crypto conferences. I mean, there would be like 500 people at the whole conference, right?
Hmm.
And so I always seemed to get the session, which was what is Bitcoin, or this idea right here. And because I had a great professor in college for communication, my speech professor, right? He said, you've got to start off by giving people something to grab hold of,
Right.
as you get in front of the audience. So I would always say, if you want to understand crypto and you want to understand Bitcoin, you have to understand baby Jesus. And everyone would be like, right. So it's exactly the reaction we get.
Okay.
Like, wait a minute now. Hold
Yeah.
on here. What's he talking about? But when you think of that story, Jesus was born in Bethlehem because, Mary and the manger and all that stuff, because Bethlehem was crowded. And the reason it was is Caesar Augustus had done a census. And what he's proclaimed was all men had to go back to their hometown so they could be counted. Because Caesar wanted to know how many men there were, how many chickens, how many bags of grain, how many bottles of wine, and on and on and on. Because Caesar wants to get his cut. Okay. And Caesar, if he doesn't think he's going to get his cut, he sends in the guys and they kill everybody and take over the town. And then it takes a while to repopulate the town and then the tax base to come back and that sort of stuff. So Caesar doesn't want to take too much of your grain, too much of your wine, right? Without, so that he doesn't start a revolution. Right. And then he has to, be Caesar. So from the inception of taxing and money, the governments have wanted their cut. I personally believe that instead of the blockchain and crypto being this super opportunity to decentralize us from the man, so to speak, that it's really a product that allows all transactions to be recorded in an open ledger. So if you fast forward down the road of history here, say 10 years, make it 20, pick a number, everybody's going to be spending money through what they'll call, maybe they don't call it their wallet, but it'll be a cryptocurrency moving through a wallet over the blockchain. And Caesar will be able to see every wallet in the world. He'll know how much money's in every wallet in that world. He'll be able to see it when it moves from my wallet to your wallet, and then from your wallet to the Walmart down the street or the gas station or Starbucks, from Starbucks to the employee, from the employee to the rent, and on and on and on. And that way Caesar will get his cut. So I personally do not, go ahead.
That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound like something.
I'm not, I know I'm not trying to be nice to anybody. I'm just telling you the truth, because from the day I saw it, that's what I believed. Right. And I know a lot of people that think I'm crazy for that. And there's people that when I say it to them, they go, oh, man, you're probably right. But please don't say that anymore because it hurts. Right. But that's what a central bank digital currency is all about. Right. That's why they want to do it.
So what is the difference then between a CBDC, which many of us have been worried about, and cryptocurrency? Is there a real difference?
Well, so a CBDC would be a cryptocurrency. So central bank digital, right? This is where that synonym digital crypto, that they kind of get interused.
Yeah.
But it's a digital currency. It would go across blockchain, some blockchain. Maybe the central bank will use an existing one like Ethereum, unlikely, or some new one that's coming out like the Power Chain, or they're building their own and that sort of thing there. But that's what Solum and what we were trying to do is give a commercial version of that type of commerce system so that it's not completely controlled by, the people in the back of the room. Right. And we saw what happened with the truckers in Canada back in the COVID days. Right. I don't know if you remember that news story, and they were all I think they were in Montreal or Ottawa, whatever the capital city up there, and they were Quebec, I think it was, and they're beeping their horns, and so the government was able to order the banks to shut down the bank accounts of all of those drivers, if you remember that story.
Right.
So, in fact, I think I saw one of your episodes where you said the purpose of the money is control. And unfortunately for society, this technology is going to come out if we don't have the right public-private partnership where the government enforces your privacy rights, particularly with what you do with your own money. Then we're headed to complete totalitarianism because they'll just shut your money off, right? So this is the question is, so what is a cryptocurrency, right? What is a digital currency? It's an electronic version of money. And most people are comfortable with that already because remember what I was saying about your little swipe card?
Right.
Whether it's your credit card or it's your Visa bank card or whatever, it's digits, it's electricity on the back of that card is how you're identified, right? So that's your wallet, if you will, address. It moves out over a rail. In this case, it's the internet. And it hits the bank. And so that's sort of a digital currency already. But the blockchain is just so much cheaper and safer and faster that's why I think companies like Solum, coins like Tether, Ethereum, whether it's a central bank digital currency or another brand like us that comes out commercially, that's where we're headed. In fact, I was doing an interview. I think it was Newsmax. And as it was all over and they were kind of breaking down the lights and everything, the cameraman came up to me. He was a Haitian guy. This is in Miami. And we were talking about the difference in price with Solum and regular credit card processing or like MoneyGram and, Western Union and stuff like that. And I was saying, well, with a wallet in the blockchain, it's 1/10 of 1% instead of 2 or 3%. Right. And just like the restaurant the other night when I paid that bill, right? 2.5% of $2,000 is $50.
Yeah.
Well, with a blockchain solution, it would have been $2 or 20 cents. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge difference. So he comes up to me and he says, my grandmother back in Port-au-Prince sent me $500 last week. And it cost her $62 to send it from Haiti to Miami. So the natural evolution of people using more efficient technology is going to drive the use of it. From the end user perspective, right, it's not that much different than trying to imagine how the money in your bank account turns into electricity at the restaurant to go out over the internet, right? It's really, you know, pretty much the same thing. It's a digital or electronic version of those digits that represent you and the balance in your account. So this is kind of the direction that it's headed.
Right. So, I mean, I understand how the government or banks or whoever is going to be able to track they would be able to track all of our purchases with CBDCs, and that's what many people are worried about. But when you're
Rightfully
using
so.
a different type of crypto like Bitcoin or Ethereum, is there still a record of all of your transactions, and would people be able to know where you
Sure.
were sending money?
Yeah, so right now let's think again about the initial thing is the wallet. That's the app, if you will, on your phone or your laptop where you're holding your currency.
Yeah.
And let's say, you know, you have Ethereum and you're using, say, Coinbase. A lot of people have heard of Coinbase. So
So
you've
that's
got a
me. I have
Coinbase wallet.
Ethereum and I use Coinbase. So
Okay,
that's
so you're
totally,
perfect. Okay.
yeah.
So there you go. So now, let's say I'm your yard man and I have a wallet called MetaMask. Just it's another brand wallet out there. So you open up your, you know, your Coinbase. You get my wallet address in there. You put in $100 for cutting the bushes or whatever it is, and you hit go, and it comes over to me, right? And
Hmm.
so now I have $100 worth of ETH in my wallet. So then you yourself or me myself can go out to a website called EtherScan. And as soon as it comes up, it's like an indice page, and every single transaction that goes from wallet to wallet anywhere in the world that has Ethereum involved in it is tracked.
Hmm.
As you can see it right now, if you had another browser open, you could go to EtherScan and look at it. So the idea that it's cryptic or crypto, right? There's a, like, you know, a hidden idea of being hidden, is because on the surface, the two parties that are conducting the transaction are your wallet and my wallet because I received the money from you. Okay, so historically, you could create a wallet without going through KYC. In fact, there's a whole market out there where if you want to buy, you know, some people call it a aged wallet, some people call it a black wallet. There's all kinds of terms for it. But there were a lot of wallets created before the KYC process came into effect. With the big exchanges, you know, for example, Binance or Coinbase, right? You remember when you signed up, you had to probably upload your driver's license and maybe a utility bill or something like that. And it took a
Yeah.
few days for them to, you know, so now behind the scenes, you know, Kim is associated with that wallet ID because they've done the background check, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, in the old days, you know, you could create a wallet like that, and just by simply going to, you know, a wallet provider and punching a few buttons, you didn't have to tell them who you were, and that's where a lot of nefarious transactions are still taking place. But the idea that every time the money moves from one wallet to the other, that is recorded forever on the blockchain is a yes. That's happening right now today. Your value or your privacy is because you're behind a wallet address and nobody knows that's you except your yard man, right? Or your
Right.
utility bill company, if you pay them, or whoever's done a transaction with you, because you see some people have been, what do they call it? Doxed. Some people have been doxed from their wallet address because people have followed them and figured it out. Like, I can't remember if it was Elon Musk or Peter Thiel, one of those guys. They did a transaction somewhere on stage, and as a result, some smart kids in California were able to figure out that was their wallet address. So they started tracking all the trades and everything they did, right?
Hmm.
But other than that, you wouldn't have known that that wallet address was connected with, you know, whoever it was, unless you were the provider of that, you know, to create that wallet. And
Well,
then
it
they would have,
sounds
in the
like,
modern world,
right. So it sounds like then if we were to use crypto more and more and more, and if you were to do things like pay your mortgage, buy groceries or whatever with crypto, then
right?
everybody would know your wallet and they would know it's you.
I mean, that is certainly something that could potentially happen. Yes. Yep. And it for the kids out there that are snoops, it's already happening. And you can, and there's other websites besides EtherScan. So, you know, it's a very interesting time right now that this is all happening. And like many other technologies as they started to come out, you know, there's some rough road ahead of us, right? It's not all going to be simple and easy. I saw a weird commercial about a month or so ago about when safety glass first came out in automobiles, right? And I just take it for granted. I had a truck throw a rock up and it hit my windshield, like, you know, a couple of inches up to the right side of my head, but it hit the windshield and the windshield didn't blow up into a million pieces and get glass all on my face. But it took the automobile industry time to figure out that that's what they needed to do. That was cost effective. They designed it, and eventually now, very seldom does the windshield blow up. So we've got some work to do in this space, and it's going to take smart people time, and they have to have the right attitude behind it as well. Because if the goal is not to protect privacy, well, then the tools are there to to exploit it.
So
And I just want to apologize. I didn't mean to make this a downer interview. That wasn't my intention. It wasn't my intention. But these are
no, but I
probing
mean,
questions.
but it's kind of, what is the reasoning why people would want to use crypto? I think that this is, one of the reasonings would be that people think that they've got some sort of privacy, or they think that the man
Sure.
can't track them. But you're actually saying, well, the man actually can track you. And it seems to me like the man will. I mean, they're heavily trying to start regulating,
Sure.
right? They're getting in there. They're trying to start doing a variety of different things. I think that's why now we do have to upload our driver's license and whatnot, right, to
Yep.
these platforms, and because there's been some sort of regulation that's been put there. And as the regulation increases, I don't know how it would be any different than any other fiat currency, essentially, other than, I guess a government doesn't control it. But I mean, who controls our currency, even though it's not even a government that controls the United States dollar? I mean, that's controlled by the Fed, right? That's not the
Right.
government. So
Private.
right, it's private. So
Yeah.
it would. So what is the benefit? What would be the difference besides? I guess if you're not an American, I mean, we have the privilege at this point so far of having the world reserve currency, the dollar, right?
Yeah.
So we could spend our dollar pretty much anywhere in the world and be fine.
Right.
Maybe if you come from some other country, somewhere else, your currency isn't accepted everywhere in the world. So you might want to have access to a global currency of some kind. Crypto maybe would be that, right? So I could understand.
Right.
Maybe if you're, off in some, Micronesia or I guess they probably use the dollar. But if you're somewhere that has some odd currency, there could be some value here. But otherwise, what would be the reasoning for going into crypto?
So, I mean, to me, it goes back to the practicality of cost of moving the money, right? The way you store the money. You can keep your crypto in your own wallet, which is on your own phone or your own laptop. So it's not at the bank.
Okay.
It's not, what I mean? So that has some autonomy to it that
Sure.
that we can work with. You can, it's not a perfect thing to go out and try to track someone's wallet. Someone's really got to have like some special reason to want to know where you're spending your money to start trying to track it and do the math and coordinate, where you're spending it. So there still is some autonomy there in what you're doing, which is good. But it's the cost of it. And you have to, we do a lot of work in Africa, okay? And we're moving into India and Southeast Asia, where there are lots and lots of people that don't even have a bank account,
Mm-hmm.
right? They call them the unbanked.
Right.
Okay, so when you think about that, I was in Tanzania about 2 months ago, driving from Dar es Salaam up to Mwanza. And I mean, we were out in the countryside, and there's no Bank of America in sight. There's no Lloyd's of London. There's no Bank of Tokyo. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for Elon Musk putting up Starlink, there wouldn't even be internet access out where I was. So, but when you think about the idea of how money is generated, how money is stored, and how money is moved, and it becomes so much cheaper because you're using a wallet, the blockchain, and a cryptocurrency or a digital currency, then that makes the opportunity for somebody in an environment like that, economically or geographically, to have access to banking, basically, right? To become part of the global commerce system, to be able to receive a microloan from someone at the UN, for example, would be something you could do. So the premise, the kid I was talking about from Haiti, whose grandmother sent him that $500, right?
Yeah.
$62 is what? It's like 11, almost 12% of the $500.
Yeah.
So in the Haitian economy, $62 will buy you a lot of chicken and other things, right? So it's good to have a cheaper, faster, safer system, right? But again, like everything else, you want to have good people running it. Because just like our system here in America right now, there's a lot of stress on the system because people, whether you're on the red side or the blue side, they don't trust the other side. So
Hmm.
even a decent system, if it's not being run by people that are truly moral and ethical, can get ugly fast. But the reason people are going to adopt it is because you're going to eventually go to the restaurant I went to here in Soho in Manhattan, and they're not going to accept credit card payments anymore because it's too expensive. So you'll have to use a crypto, right? I don't have cash. I'm at the in a hotel environment in New York, and I felt terrible because I got to the room with the bellman, and I literally don't even have $10 in my pocket to give him. Not because I'm cheap, but I don't carry cash.
Right.
Everything I do is either crypto or one of my cards. So I've already moved off of the physical cash universe into totally digital, basically. All my bills are on auto pay and so on and so forth, right? So for me, it's an easy transition from one type of a digital currency to another. And then when I go and see where we're, interested in working and helping people get access to financial tools, again, in the rural second and third world economies, you just look at it and say, well, this is a product they could actually use, right? They can actually get a hold of this and do something, and it helps. So I think
Would
those are kind of the motive.
right. Would it eliminate banking?
In a sense, it could. Okay, and what I mean by that is it could change the way the bank works, because right now the bank is the ultimate centralized location, right? They're the guys with all the money, right? And not only do they have it in the sense of, back to the Fed, that they're part of the printing of that money, but then most people keep their money in the bank anyways, right? So even though, let's say you have a McDonald's franchise, you don't keep all the money in a physically in a safe in the back of the restaurant. It's in a bank somewhere. So the banks have the storage now of the money, and as a result, they're involved technologically. Like, back to my credit card at the restaurant, when we ran the credit card, it calls my bank basically over the internet to say, hey, is there $2,600 in this account to pay the restaurant? And then the bank that I deal with sends the money to the other bank, right, to cover the
Right.
bill, and it settles overnight or whatever. So the where the money is stored would change dramatically if it was crypto. And when it is crypto, because it's stored in your wallet, it's not stored in the bank.
Right.
So that would change that part of it quite dramatically. And then the other one, and maybe this is a segue into the idea of where does crypto come from, is how it's minted or how it's created. Right now there's this like weird black box relationship between the treasury and the Fed, and somebody needs money and somebody's creating treasury notes, and it seems like it's simple, but like you were saying the other day, or a few minutes ago, once you start looking at it, it's pretty convoluted as to how money gets created, and what does fractional reserve
Right.
really mean, and all that kind of stuff. But when you take that into the world of crypto, right, then the way the coin is minted is written in a set of rules called a smart contract. So that, we think about Bitcoin, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. There's only, in theory, ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So that's a rule that was created there. So rather than creating more Bitcoin for the supply and demand issue, like with the regular fiat currencies, when they talk about monetary supply, the value of the Bitcoin goes up. That's where the expansion comes from. It's not the number of Bitcoin that goes up. Like with the US dollar, you just keep getting more dollars. But with Bitcoin, the value goes up to satisfy that sort of that same need. So with cryptocurrencies, even the way money is created can be different. And that's one of the things that got me most excited about it.
Why can't they just decide to have more than 21? How many Bitcoin is it that they're saying is the cap?
21 million.
21 million? Why can't somebody just suddenly say, okay, 21 million, let's bump it up to 40 million? Why not?
Because it's the rules of how the coin was created to begin with, right? So
Hmm.
that initial smart contract, and then Bitcoin is truly a decentralized crypto. So it resides on what's called a Bitcoin network, which is in essence, they call it nodes, right? But a node is a laptop. A node could be a server somewhere. It could be your phone. It could be your tablet. It could be a PC that's at where someone has it open. And so all of those little individual pieces there prevent the congregation of enough of the Bitcoin to come together to sort of call it vote on a change, right? There's been some things that have happened in Bitcoin that were kind of that nature. But it would be like going back here in the States and just taking the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and saying, hey, why don't we just change it? It's not that you can't, it's just, it's really a big deal. And you got to have everybody on board or there's going to be a lot of trouble.
Okay.
But when you think about,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you think about how money was created, right? We think about money, and another one I used to love to use is, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? And this was the response that Jesus gave the Pharisees when they asked him, should we pay taxes, right? And so Jesus says, well, bring me a coin. Let me see the coin. Well, whose face is on that coin? And they say, well, it's Caesar's. So they say, okay, well, give the Caesar what's Caesar's, right? And I was in London the other day, so I still have a $10 pound note that someone gave me because it had the picture of the Queen on it. And they're in the midst of changing all those out, or they probably have already done it now because it's the king.
Yeah.
Right. So heretofore, the issuance or the minting or the printing of currency was the right of sovereigns, and then countries like America. And now the thing that I find most exciting about the crypto space is an average person like Vitalik and Joe Lubin and Anthony. They just got together one day and said, hey, why don't we invent Ether? Just right out of out of their minds. It just came out of their minds. And now there's, $100 gazillion worth of Ether in the world. And that is awesome to me. I mean, I just love those guys and thinking about what they did and how long they've been working at it and what they've built. But in the back of it all, they came up with the idea of creating something of value, right? They might say on a technical level, they wouldn't call Ether a currency, right? But for the average Joe, we're going to use that term. And they just thought it up and did it, and that's what I love about Tether, right? Tether is a stable coin. It's the number 3 most valuable stable coin in the world. It's worth, I think today, like $112 billion in market cap. It is every single day the number 1 traded crypto on the planet. More than Bitcoin, more than ETH, more than all the rest of them. Sometimes as much as 10 times more than them. And that was, Brock Pierce and Craig Sellers, and they got together one day with the team and just said, hey, let's create a cryptocurrency that's tethered or tied or paired to the dollar. And here we are, an X number of years later. I think they did it in maybe 2012 or 2014. I forget the exact date. But either way, you're 10 or 12 years later, and it's become a giant, and that is a very exciting thing about the blockchain world, the crypto world, the smart contracts, that you can do something like that. And that's what caused me to get excited now and come back in, because I believe, again, now we're talking as Kirk St. John's world citizen. I believe we're moving towards a one world digital currency. Whether it's Solum, whether it's Tether, whether it's a CBDC, I think it's coming for sure on a freight train.
I'm sure the United States would like to be the CBDC, right? They would like it to be the U.S. CBDC.
Yes.
Sounds like that's what they're kind of pushing for, some kind of Western CBDC. Which is why we're now seeing countries get together and they're trying to get off of the dollar a bit. They're trying to seems to be that they're moving away. That's why we're seeing the creation of BRICS, or the expansion of BRICS, I should say. So can you explain? And I want to get into that, and I want to get into gold, because I know you're into gold. Like your platform, people are able to take crypto and convert it into actual gold.
Actual gold, yes.
So you're into gold too. So I want to get into gold, and why people would go for gold or crypto versus just getting as much fiat cash as they possibly can. What is a stable coin versus a crypto? Are they the same thing?
So technically, on a you might call it like a digital level, they're the same thing. Whether it's Ether, Bitcoin, or Tether, or the Solum type solution. A stable coin is a coin that has been created to be pegged towards something to begin with, okay? Typically, they're pegged towards the dollar. But there are coins out there that are called stable coins that are pegged to the price of an ounce of gold, for example, right? So I don't know what gold is today, like say $2,310, make up a number, right in that neighborhood. So one of those coins would always be worth $2,310. But if gold goes up to $2,500, then that coin is changed in value, but it's still stable to the price of gold. So what we've thought of, and what Tether thought of, and USDC, which is called Circle Limited, that's the company. So Tether's the number 3 most valuable crypto in the world. USDC's the number 6. So 2 out of the top 6 cryptos in the world are stablecoins, right? And it's because a stablecoin being paired typically to a dollar, it could be paired to a euro, it could be paired to, a peso, but the dollar being the global reserve currency, that's what most people have paired theirs towards, allows for a transaction of a cryptocurrency to be done in the real root sense of what a currency is, right? Whereas most of the other what are called cryptocurrencies, in my mind, they're really securities or they're digital properties. And it's back to the idea that most of the people that hold these coins are holding them because they think they're going to go up in value, right? And when I last was in Zug with Vitalik and Joe, I think ETH was like 18 cents, right? And now we're at 2,500, 3,500. It peaked a little, 4,000 and was creeping up there. So that's what people buy most cryptocurrencies for. What we are interested in, and where a stable coin becomes of interest, is it's something that you can use to pay your bills, or to be paid by your employer, or to pay your taxes or anything, because it's in that case, it's functioning as a currency in the sense of money, right? Whereas the other ones, it's not that I wouldn't accept a payment from you in some portion of an Ether or some portion of a Bitcoin, right? And you have, like, for example, Elon Musk will allow you to pay for a Tesla with Bitcoin or Dogecoin, right? So it can be done. But when you talk about global adoption, and that's what I'm interested in, that is the focus at Solum Global, is to get people to start using cryptocurrencies in their day-to-day lives, right? Paying bills, receiving money, all that kind of stuff. And when it's paired to the dollar, it makes it simple. So we'll go back, for example, to my dinner down in Soho, $2,350 for the bill. If I had to get out my calculator and say, okay, $2,350, and Bitcoin right now is at 62,700. Let me do some math and figure out what Bitcoin do I have to send in here to pay that bill. Whereas with a stable coin that's pegged to a dollar, if the bill's $2,350, you send them $2,350 stable coin. Right, and that makes it easier to use. So I think the answer is most of the cryptocurrencies that are not stablecoin are really functioning either as a digital property or a security, like Apple stock, whereas stablecoins function for a use case purpose.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to buy, a stablecoin thinking they're going to get rich because the value of the coin's going to go up. That's not how that works.
So essentially, I would take my Ether that I have, which is like an investment. I get paid by one of the platforms in Ether, or in a coin that's backed. That's somehow it's, I don't know. I really don't understand. I still don't understand any of it, to be honest with you. But I know that it's backed by Ether or something like that, or it's based on the Ether.
Right.
So then I convert it to Ether. So then I could take this Ether and I could convert it to a stable coin. I know I do that when I need to cash out. I've taken some money out, so I've had to transfer. I've had to turn it into a US something, like a
DC.
US. Yeah, right. And then from there,
at Coinbase, they use USDC at Coinbase.
Yeah. So then from there, I could then take it, turn it into cash that I then have deposited into my bank account. So you're saying that's crypto itself would act as an investment, and then you'd convert it to a stable coin to actually be able to use it, to transfer it around, spend it, collect it, potentially.
In a sense, I'm saying that 9 out of 10 times that, really it's more than 9 out of 10, it's probably 990 out of 1,000 times that someone buys a cryptocurrency, it's because they believe it's going to go up in value.
Right.
Whereas stable coins, you don't have that belief. You just know it's going to remain paired to the dollar. So a lot of people, when Bitcoin hit 70,000, 69,000, I don't know what it is now, a month or two ago, a lot of people sold their Bitcoin, moved into Tether, and waited for Bitcoin to come back down to where it might be today at, say, 62 or 61,000. And as a result, they left Tether as a stable coin and went back in to Bitcoin.
Yeah, so they treat it like an investment.
It serves that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, when I have all of my Ether at Coinbase, I'm not on the exchange part, but on the wallet, I guess. What is a wallet exactly, and how is that not a bank? I
Well,
mean, isn't
you know,
Coinbase operating as my bank, sort of? Are they holding my crypto?
you could say they are, yes. Yeah, that's what's really funny about the U.S. regulatory environment. There's a lot of questions that have to be answered. But if you take it in just practical reality, absolutely, because you have something of value, right? You're calling it a cryptocurrency. It sounds like you're getting some ETH, and they're holding it and storing it for you, right? So if that is truly money, then they have to manage it like a bank, right? But what's funny here in the States is there really is no firm and clear legislation or regulation that governs all of that. And that's what's really weird. About 2 weeks ago, a bill was moving through Congress. It got through the House and it died before it ever got through the Senate because neither the Senate nor Biden were going to sign it. And ever since crypto came out, every single year I hear it again. Oh, they're going to do it this year. They're going to pass the rules this year. We're going to get there this year, right? But they never do. And I'm not saying they never will, they just never have so far. So that's what's really interesting about it, is whether it's a wallet or whether it's one of the currencies or whether it's the exchange where you're holding it. Most of it is very unregulated, and that's what frankly has led to a lot of the disasters, like FTX. I mean, that's what the whole problem was over there, is they had all your money and they were doing stuff with it that they shouldn't be doing. And when the bell rang and everyone wanted their money back, there wasn't enough there to give them back, and the whole thing fell apart.
Right. They were acting like a
Right? And
bank.
they were absolutely acting like a bank, a crooked bank,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
but they had everyone's money and they did whatever they did with it, right?
Yeah.
I follow it too super closely. I just know that supposedly they had $100 and really they had 50
Right.
because they were spending on whatever. So that's that is true. That is what's happening, and you could make the case that a wallet is a bank. We actually call ours a vault, right? And we work with, like, I was on the phone a couple days ago with the honorary council for the country of Macedonia, because we want some form of regulation. I mean, I don't want Big Brother to put his hand on the scale and govern my life, but I don't want to build a business that could be one day someone could turn around and say, "Oh, well, that's all illegal," right? I don't know if you heard the story where they're kind of snooping around Ether. We're talking about Ether here, and they, some of the prosecutors have video of Vitalik back when he was, younger, talking about Ether and how, because of the way it was built, it's going to go up in value. Like literally at like little conference rooms and stuff like that. And they were using that to say, basically, Vitalik, you were trying to sell these people on a security.
Right.
And right now it's sort of in the limbo land, but I don't want that to happen to us. I don't want to start helping people do cross-border payments to save money, or I don't want people to be storing their value in our wallet. And then a year from today, the SEC or, FINRA or anybody comes around and says, oh, well, you're not allowed to do that. And in fact, the fact that you did do that is illegal. So we're going to fine you or throw you in jail. Right. But the practical reality of what's happening is some of those functions are functions like printing money, functions like storing money, functions like moving money. And so if you move money around in the U.S., you have to have a money transfer license. Right. So if is crypto going to fall under the same set of rules and guidelines? We don't really know yet. We're watching it unfold.
Yeah. Okay. So gold. Why? So you've been in the crypto space for 10 years. How long have you been in the gold space?
Well, it's kind of funny because the story here in the States, my family came over in the late 1600s. So like super early American, family. And they were farmers and, saved their money, and they had it saved up in gold, right? They had gold and it was in the barn. And so in a case, they had it buried in the barn. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt comes to town one day and says, well, hey, everybody, you got to turn in your gold, right? You're familiar generally with that idea. Mm-hmm. And so my great grandfather packed it up into the back of the wagon and took it. And he was at the Mexican-Texas border, and they caught him. And they could have fined him. They could have put him in jail and all that stuff. They didn't. They just took his gold and gave him money. Right. So that story resonates in my family to this very day. And then when I was a kid, I was born in Boston, But when I was young, we moved to Key Biscayne, and we lived right across the street from Richard Nixon's compound. And we lived there when he took us. So Frank took us off the gold. You know, you could trade in a $20 bill and get an ounce of gold, right? Franklin Delano Roosevelt took that to partial gold. And then Nixon took us completely off the gold standard to fiat. And that's primarily been my life. I mean, I was like maybe 4 years old when he did that or something like that. And I've just seen the fiat world, you know, explode. So the idea that gold has always been an ancient store of value, right? An ancient currency, back to the kings and Caesar and all that stuff. I mean, that's what they were printing their face on. You know what I mean? Maybe it was a bronze coin in Greece or something like that. But the really good coins were gold, right? The Spanish doubloon, the French doubloon. You know, you see that was always a currency. And so part of what we're trying to do is to get new world adoption, I call it. So remember, we were talking about the unbanked, and the first thing anyone does in Africa or China or anywhere when they have any money is they get a phone. That's like one of the first luxury technologies they buy. And then with the phone, they're able to get to banking. So we believe that the way people are going to choose to adopt that is going to be predicated on the fact that they believe in it. And therefore, that's where we came up with the idea of a digital-backed, redeemable, you know, a gold-backed digital currency as a concept, right? And we've got just so much wonderful feedback from that. I've had people, you know, that say, you know, I would have never used a digital currency, but I would use this one. Right? Just because it rings in people's hearts that gold is a safe hedge, right? It's a safe space to be. So bringing those two worlds together, particularly when you're, you know, trying to get a product adopted in communities. I mean, you know, if I went from, say, 100 miles from where you are right now in the States and looked at how many people had a bag full of gold under their mattress or buried out in their backyard, it would be very few people. But if you do the same thing in India or China, where there's a lot of people, you're going to find grandma's got some gold somewhere, right? And that's just how they are, right? And so they do that. And so that's where we got this idea from. And then the technology to do it's not that hard. It's just like you sending the money to me. You're basically sending it to us, and we're putting you in touch with a gold dealer, whether that's a miner, whether that's a bullion house, or like us, we have a seat on the Dubai Gold Exchange. Or I was doing the meeting in Miami, and I was demonstrating in the wallet how you could literally, you know, take $2,500 worth of a stable coin and turn it into gold. And the dealer happened to be an Orthodox Jewish guy. What happened to his store was like a block and a half from the restaurant we were doing the event at. And he, like 5 minutes later, he walks in the door and said, "Who ordered the gold?" And he held up a gold bar. So everybody in the restaurant was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," right? Because you don't see a lot of gold bars in person. So doing it from a practical standpoint, a marketing standpoint, and a builder of confidence is where that whole idea came from.
Speaking of grandmas with gold, my family's Vietnamese, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, my grandmother is from the north of Vietnam and had to escape the
Yes.
north after the French War, went to the south, and then after the American War, the Vietnam War, had to leave Vietnam, ended up leaving and went to Iran, and then was in Iran until the revolution in 1978. And left there, and it was always gold, you know, taking gold or jewelry of some kind, but gold was a big one, and that is how she was able to escape, you know, governments collapsing after government collapse after government collapse. Everybody understands gold. So from the north of Vietnam to the south, you know, you could take your gold and start spending gold. Same thing with going from Vietnam to Iran or to the United States. You could take that gold and you could actually spend it. Everybody understands gold. Every country in the world understands gold. So that is actually how my family survived. So my family is very big on gold, very, very big on. Now, of course, they're not stuffing it in their mattresses or anything. I mean, now at this point, you know, people are putting it in safety deposit boxes at the bank. I mean, it's not in a bank account necessarily, but it's in a vault. You know, it's being held.
But you never know.
Safe.
There may be some gold buried out in the backyard, and you just don't know it.
Who knows, right? It'll die with her. I mean, at that, you know, she's 97 years old. But yeah, that's you know, that is a reality for many people that have gone through wars, that have gone through unstable governments is that they have held on to gold, knowing that gold is always stable. It's a currency everybody understands. So I definitely think a lot of people are way more comfortable with investing in gold than investing in crypto, would be my guess.
Sure.
So wait a minute, I'm confused then. So do you have, like you say, Solum Global, did you guys create a coin, do you have like your own crypto basically?
So I call it the Solum family. So right now, we're talking about Solum Global Inc. USA, which is a technology company that provides the app for people to use. But we also have, like, for example, Solum Gold Dubai, where we have a seat on the Dubai Gold Exchange. We have Solum Gold Tanzania, Ghana, Bahamas, Singapore we just opened. But in Sofia, Bulgaria, we have Solum Global Limited, which is a totally different company than Solum Global Inc. But we minted there almost 2 years ago now, a billion stablecoin, and they're called SGDC. So as things develop, we hope that is the currency people choose to use to pay their electric bill or pay for their restaurant or the gym membership or whatever they're doing now. So those are the type and kind of things that we want to do to make it, a product, if you will, that people can use in the real world.
Okay, so it's a stable coin that is backed by actual real gold.
Yes, and when again, for what do they call it in legalese, forward-looking statements type things, I think it's redeemable is the better word, right? Meaning that if you've got the currency in your wallet, you click the gold button icon, you send whatever amount you want out, and then you get that much in gold based on the dollar value. So $100,000 worth of a stable coin that came out for gold, say 6 months ago, you would have gotten more gold than you would today because the price of gold has gone up at 100,000, right? So, but yes, it's definitely completely backed by gold.
Wow. And so that might be that's interesting because a lot the other stable coins, they are backed by the dollar. Is that right?
Most of them are, yes. Most of them are pegged to a dollar, backed by a dollar, and that's another interesting thing because we talk about the word crypto and cryptic again being sort of hidden. Tether, for example, the biggest crypto stable coin in the world, and again the number one traded coin in the world, they're getting some flack here recently because they're $112 billion market cap. So what does that really mean? That means they minted and passed out 112 billion Tether tokens and took in $112 billion. So after FTX, people started to say, okay, well, do you really have that somewhere? I mean, can I see that? Or are you open and, can I take a peek in the box? And they've just chosen not to do it in what I would call a completely transparent manner. So what I mean by that is if I reached over to the table and picked up your cell phone and you were willing to tell me the username and password for your banking app, I would know how much money you had in that account in about 2 seconds, right? I'd know when it came in, when it went out. That's transparency. So Tether's done some attestations. Tether's done some things where they're making that case, easier to understand. But they've opened the door for someone to be hyper transparent, which is what the Solum solution is about, so that anybody that brings their fiat in through the Solum portal and turns that into crypto, then they're going to be able to see how much is there and where it is all the time, right? And that transparency will prove the liquidity.
Yeah.
To date, you have never had a massive run on Tether, meaning like 60% of the tokens people wanted to redeem for the cash. Right. And I tell everybody, we talk about this all the time. Everyone says, oh, what's going to happen with Tether? Like I'm supposed to know what's going to happen with Tether because I'm doing a different project. But it's the answer to me is fairly simple. The worst case scenario would be they don't show you because they don't have the money. Okay, right. That part, simple and obvious. But go to the other extreme. What if they took the money that was in there and they invested it wisely? And they didn't piss it to the wind on Alameda Research like the other guys did, right?
Right.
And they actually have, instead of 112 billion, they have 250 billion.
Yeah.
Right. So I call that, and I don't mean to be rude to your audience, but I call that piss off money. Because if I had $250 billion and someone was snapping at my heels about show me what you've got, I'd say, no, I'm not going to do it. If you don't like me, leave. You don't have to use the coin, right? So there's that one. And then maybe it's somewhere that they just don't want people to know where they have it at,
Hmm.
right? And that's their, I'll call it their prerogative to do that. It's people's prerogative to use the coin or not use the coin. And again, it is by far and away the number one most used coin every single day of the year. So they're doing something right. All I'm saying is that if transparency and accountability is something that's super important to you, as the user of the coin, then we've been given the opportunity to do that in a way that they're not doing, right? And
Right. I would say that,
I was just going to
and oh, go ahead, finish up
I
what
was
you're
just going to
saying.
say that I did a lot of e-commerce, right, in
Hmm.
my life, and I know, for example, the Amway Corporation, TRICARE Insurance, they're not going to use a cryptocurrency where they don't know where all the money is. It's just not going to happen, right? No real world business. Hyatt Hotels is not going to start taking, payments in Tether if they don't believe and know they can cash it in to get the dollar back out at the end of the day when they want to. So I think that there's a limited expansion of that business model. And that's where we are trying to implement something that takes care of that right up front. I call it our big glass jar, because I have a jar, like it's an old iced tea jar on my piano in my music room, and it's got pennies and nickels and dimes and all that stuff in it. You can see it. You see what's in there. I got a 7-year-old. They'll tell you exactly how much money's in that jar because you can pour it out and count it,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about how simple that is, if that's your goal, then it's easy to implement, and that's what we've tried to do.
So, but you're doing that transparency with gold. So it's actual real gold that's being stored somewhere. What stops somebody from just taking all that gold and going and spending it or investing it somewhere and saying, oops, let's
Right.
hope there's not a run on the gold? Because if there is, we
Well,
don't have
no,
enough in the vault.
well, so again, you would have to have a lot of cryptocurrency to get to the point where, in our solution, in the Solum family, call it the Solum ecosystem, to get to the point where there wasn't enough gold, right, to redeem that. So I mean, that's so far out in the future, we don't even worry about that. We're talking in terms of billions of dollars right now, and there's trillions and trillions of dollars in gold. So whether it's the gold at the repository at the Dubai Gold Exchange, or whether it's a local bullion dealer, like down the street from my house in West Palm Beach on a highway called Dixie Highway, there's a bullion dealer there who's got a big vault in his facility. Or it's like the Orthodox Jewish guy in Miami who has like a little small store, and he has different size bars of gold in there. So our gold is, in that case, decentralized in the sense that it's not all in one big piggy bank so someone could rob it and run away with it. It's distributed. So anytime somebody wants to redeem the coin for the gold, we just make that connection, right? Because remember, when you first get into the Solum coin, you've got to come in with some fiat money, right? So now you give me fiat, I give you the coin, we put the fiat in the jar. The gold dealer knows it's in that jar. The bullion dealer knows it's in that jar. The Dubai Gold Exchange people know it's in that jar. So when you hit the redeem button, we automatically, through the smart contract in the bank, send the money over to the exchange or the bullion dealer or the local store, and they now have the cash. We redeem the crypto back into our Genesis wallet, and you get the gold. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like we're trying to say we're Fort Knox and we have, all the gold in the world in our back pocket. We're making the process work on a platform.
Okay. So this is like connecting us to a variety of different gold dealers or
Yes.
I guess
Yes.
companies that have gold.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Now, Solum itself, through its partnerships with, like I said, Solum Gold Dubai, Solum Gold Tanzania, we have access in our own right to gold, right? But we also have to be able to provide that same last mile to anybody anywhere in the world. So that's why we've worked with other merchants and bullion dealers.
Okay. So other gold companies would want to get involved so that
Yeah,
they could then, okay. I
absolutely.
think what's also interesting about it is that many of us are worried about the value of the dollar and what's going to happen
Yeah.
with Saudi Arabia no longer or didn't renew
Mhm.
at this point the petrodollar deal. There is
Right.
the expansion of BRICS. A lot of countries are very worried about continuing to allow the United States dollar to be the reserve currency when the U.S. loves to sanction and punish and
Yeah.
debank and steal money
Right.
from countries and take it and put
Yeah.
it, like give Russian money to the Ukrainians or whatever, just kind of doing whatever they want with it. And so that's caused a lot of strife around the world and mistrust and so, I don't know. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people go into the crypto space is that they're worried about the dollar. They're worried about the value of the dollar. I know that's a big reason why a lot of people go into the gold space
Sure.
because,
Yep.
as my grandmother had three real life experiences with,
Right.
if the currency is not viable for whatever reason, then,
Right.
gold is something
Right.
that everybody understands everywhere you go, right?
Sure.
So that's also interesting to have a crypto that is backed by gold for that reason, that it's instead of one
Yep.
that's like pegged to the dollar. I mean, then the dollar
Yep.
crashes, and then what?
Yep. Right.
Then
I
what do you
mean,
do?
if the dollar does crash, we're in for a hell of a world for a while, right? It's going to take a minute because it has become such a massive thing.
Right.
And I agree, particularly morally, with some of the statements you made about how uh, the powers that be here in the states have used the dollar to beat other people up. And I don't necessarily think that that was a great idea. I think it's caused America a lot of ill will,
Yeah.
right? But but at the same time, if it falls apart before, or hopefully, if something else could replace it, then the system falls apart.
Hmm.
And that's why you don't see China dumping $1 trillion in bonds today, because if they do, then America falls apart. And who's going to buy all the stuff China makes?
Right.
Right. So there's this really interesting like balance that goes on there, and then you're into a whole different economic conversation about the dollar. But what we're hoping to do is to give people sort of an alternative to that. They can hedge their bets maybe with 5% or 7% of their holdings, and give them a place where they can have some security in the sense of it's not a dollar, it's a crypto, and it is backed by gold, so that feels good as well. And we think we'll get some market share because of that.
Yeah, probably. So, you said that people have to come to your? So, is it an app that you have? Is it? And you mentioned, is it like a credit card also that you can go and actually use? Kind of sounded like that
Well,
was.
in my examples, when I was holding up the credit card image in my mind there, so Solum is so first of all, you can go to solum.global and learn more about us and the company. When the wallet is launched completely, it's up now and it's running. I call it live beta, but we didn't talk about the UN, but that's why I'm here in New York. I could talk about it in a second about our launch. But the wallet itself then would be, the address would be wallet.solum.global. But for the user, what they'll be able to do is just go to the site or download the app on their phone, on their laptop or their tablet, and they'll log in and they'll give us some information, because we have to do the KYC and the AML stuff. And then the wallet's open. You tie it to your card just like you did with the Coinbase. And then once you're in, you can move into different cryptocurrencies. You can move the currencies around. You can send it to other people and back and forth. And so long as the other party has a wallet of some kind, then you'll be able to use your wallet to pay them or to request crypto from them. So that would be the way it works.
So it's a wallet.
Yes, it's a wallet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but in the
Yes.
wallet, you have the ability to buy the crypto that is pegged to gold.
Yes. Yes,
Are
you
you
do.
not able to
And
buy
you have the
this like on Coinbase? Are we not able to get the coin?
no,
No, not there.
no, not right now. So Solum Global Inc. And again, I'm here in New York right now, right? Because we've been invited to launch from the UN late this fall. And we now know from today, going to the UN headquarters and talking with everybody, it'll either be October 30th or it could be uh, November 12th. Those are the two dates that are available for us to hold the event. And we're bringing together, luminaries from crypto. We're bringing together the press. In fact, you should come and see the event. And then we're bringing together diplomats and ambassadors and other people at the state level who would want to look at and understand blockchain technologies, because it's not all just about crypto, right? The blockchain is an incredibly interesting advancement in technology solutions on the earth, right? It's really something else that it's come out. So we're bringing all those things together, and we'll demonstrate how our product works live. And that's when the coin, the wallet, the whole package would literally be live. Although over the last couple of weeks, I've been demonstrating it to small user groups. We're in the middle of a Reg D round right now. The company's raising money for marketing and compliance and a variety of other things. So part of that is demonstrating the product. So I call it live beta because no one else really has access to it, but it does all work.
So am I able to take my ether and like convert it to a coin that's pegged to gold?
You could, yes. In fact, if I made you what I called one of our whitelist, users, so you're like a beta user, you absolutely could do it. You could send your ether to your Solum wallet, translate it into the SGDC, and you could hold it as that, or you could get the gold yourself right out of the wallet. Where are you located? What part of the country are you in?
I'm in LA.
Or where?
Los
LA?
Angeles, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got lots of partners out there. They would deliver it right to your studio or to your house.
What do you mean, the gold?
Or you could go down and pick it up. Yeah, they'll either bring it to you or you can go down and pick it up.
But I thought I would have a coin, like a digital coin, crypto.
Well, no, I'm saying if you take the digital coin, right?
Yeah.
And you want to redeem it for your gold, right?
Okay.
So it's backed by gold. Well, the whole
Right.
point of it being backed by gold is you could say, well, here's 10,000 of those little coins. I want a $10,000 bar of gold, which is like 4 ounces right now, right? So that's the ultimate last mile, is to be able to prove to people that once you've gone from fiat to crypto, now can you go from crypto to gold? It's one thing to say it. It's another thing for somebody to, contact you via email or telephone and say, hey, this is Jimmy, the gold dealer. I just got your order from Solum. How do you want to come? What do you want to do? You want to come down and pick it up? I'm on, 9th Street, or you want me to bring it to you, or whatever.
Oh,
that's when it really starts to hit home for people that it's a solid, backing.
Yeah. What would be the reason why a person, if they're wanting to get gold, why would they go through this process rather than just going directly to a gold dealer and getting some gold?
Sure. Well, a lot of people, if they wanted to do that at a gold dealer, they would have to start by saying, okay, well, where is there a gold dealer? And they'd start at Google, and then they'd start trying to figure out where to go and the different prices and all that stuff.
Right.
When you're holding an app in the palm of your hand and all you have to do is hit the gold button, literally the next thing that comes up is a little window with the amount of money you can type in it. And we literally named the button Get Gold. Right? So it's just that simple. You hit the gold bullion icon, you type in the amount you want, you hit Get Gold, a smart contract window comes up, and you hit Go. And generally it's like half a minute to 2 minutes, you get an email in your inbox that says, congratulations, Kim, your gold is waiting for you. Do you want to call us? Do you want us to ship it to you? Do you want to come pick it up? Right. Or the fourth one is, do you want us to help you set up like a safety deposit box, like a storage account? Right. So you have all 4 of those options there, and it's up and running. So
it makes it way easier, and you don't have to go shopping around like for a bunch of different, going with all the different, various different vendors of gold. Right. Interesting.
That's exactly.
Interesting. Well, I'm a big fan of gold. I mean, as I mentioned with my family story, I'm a real big fan of it. I definitely feel more comfortable with it than I do with crypto, even though I do hold Ether. But just still with, like I said, with my family story. I mean, I don't know of anybody who ran from war using crypto. I don't know anybody personally, so it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, this is totally the thing that we should all be collecting. I mean, I worry that some of these crypto, I still worry about the crypto space. I'm not 100% certain what's going to happen with it. I know the government's trying to regulate. There's a lot of stuff going on there. We see the FTX stuff, right? I mean, it's we see the government coming in and seemingly purposefully collapsing banks. Like Signature Valley Bank in New York or Silicon Valley Bank out here. So there's a lot of stuff that I think is kind of unknown still when it comes to it, but I also know a lot of people are worried about the dollar. I think rightfully to some level. We just don't know. And it's kind of a position of privilege. I think a lot of people sit here and think, oh, it'll never happen. It'll not, our government's stable. And I'm like, tell that to my grandmother who's watched 3 countries collapse in her lifetime and she's still alive. Yeah. Like you could sit there and think your country is just fine and stable and nothing's going to happen. And then the next thing you know, your government has gone to war and now it's collapsed.
Yep, it could happen. And I share your sense of concern. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're in interesting times, and I think it's going to get a little bit more dicey between now and the election. I don't know why. I just got a feeling.
Kirk, this has been a really interesting conversation. I appreciate it. I appreciate you kind of breaking down a little bit more and giving us some of the reality of crypto and the tracking and just kind of getting into this a bit. It's still a very complex, difficult world. Even when I talk about regular fiat and banking,
Yeah.
many of us, and we use that every single day, all of us do for the most part. And that's still, when you
Yeah.
really get into the nitty gritty, starts to get really complicated, actually, which, people think,
Yeah.
oh, I just put my money in the bank. The bank holds it. They might invest some of it and then,
Right.
and make some money or whatever. But no, it's like, that's not even what's happening actually at the
Right.
bank, as much as we think that's
Yeah.
what's happening. Right.
Right.
And then it's
Yeah.
actually really complicated. And then the crypto world is like extra layer of complication, I think,
Right.
on top of that. For many of us, it's still, even those of, I mean, I even have crypto. I have a wallet. I've gone through the process of
Sure.
exchanging things, and I still don't understand any of it. But I
Yeah.
think you've
Well,
helped.
it just yeah, I hope to, and it'll come in time. I mean, again, back in the day, no one even had heard of it. Now, at least everyone's heard of it, right?
Right.
And like my dad saw the Bitcoin when Bitcoin finally started to be something you could see on CNBC. He called me. He was like, "Oh, this Bitcoin thing may turn out to be something," And I said, "Yeah, Dad, I think it will." He's like 86, so yeah, it's been a great chat, and really do accept this as an invitation to come to New York and be part of the event here at the UN.
I definitely may consider that. I appreciate the invitation. Kirk St. John's. We do have the link down below to Solum Global, and for people to be able to learn more and get a hold of you or whatever. But Kirk, thank you so much for being here.
Excellent.
Really appreciate it.